What is up, everyone? It is Speed, and today I'm talking about a very cool topic, one I think you guys are going to enjoy greatly, and that is team fighting. Now, I know this is a TI game. You're like, Speed, TI was a while ago. Why are we going back to TI? But this is kind of the pinnacle of team fighting as of recent, so I thought this would be a great example on how OG actually manages to deter one of the strongest push lineups in the game. And a lot of the concepts you're going to see here apply to every single team fight. In fact, I recently played a pub, and I felt like a lot of the things that were lacking and the reasons why we lost the game and lost the fights was a culmination of bad positioning. So let's look at how OG and Liquid maneuvers in order to try to win the fight to the best of their ability. This pro guide you're about to see is one of hundreds, just like it, over at gameleap.com. Gameleap is your #1 stop to become a specialist in your desired role fast. Check us out today with the discount link in the description below to unlock your hidden potential, but for now, let's hop into the video. So the first thing to note is kind of who's on the front line and their general positioning. Now these teams obviously have heroes that naturally take the front line. It makes a lot of sense. One team has a Timber, one team has a Bristleback. But the most important thing is to note the lack of overcommitting, right? So Wind Ranger isn't diving the back line, she isn't diving the Timber Sod just because she thinks he's alone. There's no diving, there's no overcommitting, none of that, right? Here they do see a minor gap to kind of poke at him and maybe even force a kill, as Weehaw lands a really nice shackle shot. But of course, right, once it doesn't work out, let's look at their general positioning. Doesn't work out, initiation goes poorly, back. The movement is back. The main mistake people make is they try to force in, which causes them to die, right? Because they overextend even when they don't have spells up. You notice Liquid is trying to reset, and that's exactly what they do. And now OG does the same exact thing, right? They chase as far as they think is possible, and then back. And now Liquid is going back in, so let's continue to see how the fight plays out. This is the point in the game where Ana was able to get his level 15 talent, which at the time was when Aya was broken. And you notice Liquid is still trying to do the same exact thing. They're not trying to overcommit, they just want to siege down the tower. Miracle has gone it down to about half HP, which is quite reasonable, but they're not able to get it. Now, we're going to see the first initiation of the fight, and this one's very important, so I'm going to go back to it. We see on the back line, Jerax is looking for a jump, right? He has this blink dagger, and he's looking for a jump. So who does he go on? He's going on the squishy target that wants to be the backline counter-initiate, right? Going on counter-initiators is one of the best plays in Dota. It's like going on a Shaker. So if you're struggling against a hero like Shaker, typically the best thing to do is get up vision around the fights, like throw down wards, and find them, right? So you notice here, Jerax goes in, finds the counter-initiator, decides to hop on him, and they all sort of commit on him, but not too super hard. You notice No-Tail is still sort of staying in the back, Ana is not overcommitting, and Jerax is once again kiting out. This kiting backwards is the biggest characteristic of high MMR players that low MMR players completely lack. In fact, it's very hard to notice if you're not looking at it in this context. And now OG feels like they're on the offensive, right? They got a pick off and they go in, but you notice overcommitting, what it does is it allows you to get good spell casting off. That's simply what happens. When people overextend, you pick off the person who's overextending, but you stay together. And that's what Liquid does here, and they get the sep kill. So once again, OG has to kite back because Liquid managed to get a pick off. And that's exactly what they do. They're waiting for their cooldowns. You notice now, because they kite back, look how important this is. This is exactly why they win the fight, or one of the big reasons, right? Jerax is able to reset the fight, and is able to stay in the backlines, and his blink dagger comes up, right? So instead of getting hit by like some AoE quills, I mean he is burned out of mana, but instead of getting hit by anything, he's able to reinitiate and get a really nice 2-man avalanche toss, which cleans up the kill onto the Wind Ranger, probably the biggest kill there. So Weehaw overextending a little bit gets him killed, and that's the big thing. He wasn't positioning relative to his Bristleback well enough, and that's the big thing. You want to position relative to your carry, and that's what they're trying to do. You notice, look, relative to their carry, you see how there's kind of like this gap here? If we wind it back to the other fight, the same gap is between the Bristleback and the rest of the allied teammates. And yeah, so they finally kite this fight out, and imagine if OG tried to fight this quickly, they would have lost 100%. Like, no doubt in my mind, they would have gotten destroyed in the fight. But that's not what ended up happening. They took it very successfully, and finally are able to penetrate the backlines, and that's the goal. Penetrate the backlines whenever possible, but you can't force it. So if it's a mid-game fight, and you can instantly get to the backlines, do so. You really should. Getting to the backlines immediately it's a huge win if you can kill off the supports with very low committal, because that's often the major goal. Killing heroes with low committal. Now, at this situation, we're going to be looking at a high ground fight. Let's kind of see how it plays out. The first thing you're going to notice is that Jerax understands the idea of killing the backline, so he goes on Kuroki, trying to sort of kill him off in the beginning. Now, the only reason why OG is diving is because they know that the Wind Ranger is dead and they have unbelievably good sustain, right? So they're able to kill off the Bristleback, reinitiate on Jerax, and then kite back. Look, this is the important part that everyone makes the mistake of. You see the discipline? That's why in my videos I typically recommend don't dive at all. Literally don't even try to dive tier 4s. Don't push past the tier 3. Because If you don't understand when it's the perfect time to back, you die. So if we go back 10 seconds and look at this again, they dive, they kill the bristle, and you see the general movement of the enemy team. Well, you know, the Earth Spirit overcommits as well, so they go on him. They understand when one hero is overcommitting, that's who they kill. But then they stay together, they're a unit, and they back up to hit the buildings. Even though Bristle and Wind are dead, they're backing. Why is that, right? Why is that? Now, let's think about it. They could have probably killed Kuroki, right? They probably could have, right? They maybe even could have gone on mind control. But is it worth the time, and is it worth the resources? These are two tanky heroes, right? The Chen with the Omni Knight behind him is not going to die quickly, or relatively quickly, especially considering they had already burned Jarek's combo. So it makes a lot more sense for them to just reset, back, and start actually getting the objective that they came for, right? They got the kills so that they could back and take the objective. And now you can see Jarex is kind of looking for a pick off, and Ana is zoning them off the racks, but they are not overcommitting. They understand that they could dive these kills. Theoretically, Jarex, no problem, could catch this Chen. But is it even slightly worth it? No, because it is going to force them to not take the racks quickly, and all they have to do is kill the racks. And look, they kill melee and they back. This is a big thing as well that you guys might not know. When you're pushing high ground, pick a Rax and kill it fast. And if you can't get the other one in time, by the time they're respawning, do not overcommit and back. This is very important. Get one and get out. And now let's look what they do afterwards, because actually this is one of my favorite plays in Dota, and I want to make a whole video on smoking soon. But what they do is they back, they kind of hit this shrine, because they understand this is going to allow them to take Roche later on. The shrine by the Roshan pit is always the more important one. But then they realize that Liquid is pushing out of their base. They're like, oh, this is an opportunity. So what do they immediately do? They fake back, right? They smoke. And Liquid might know that this is coming, because they were hitting the shrine, but still, it's a good opportunity to fight them outside of the base. And this is a big thing for team fighting when you're ahead, right? You want to find them outside of the base and away from towers, right? So they go in, they find Miracle, they sort of go on him, but they're not overcommitting, right? And instead, what they do is they find the counter initiator, right, guys? This is not the main hero. This is not the Bristleback. They're trying to avoid the Bristleback. Right, the Timbersaw goes on the Bristleback, but that's just because he can and because he can use his Q to chip him down over time. But you notice, he's the only one who does that. Everyone else is finding this Omni Knight on the side, right? And you might be like, well, they can't burst him either, but the thing is, look what happens. He's forced to use his Heavenly Grace on himself, which is a big deal because now Miracle cannot have it, and it's actually massive for Miracle. Now, after they go on mind control, right, as we back up a little bit, what is their next movement? Now, Team Liquid's heals are insane, so they have to kind of reset and wait for cooldowns. Once again, Avalanche Toss on cooldown, all the spells of Gyro on cooldown, Io does not have cooldowns, and, you know, neither does Ava really, but they sort of back up and they wait for them, right? Cooldown, not really, sort of, right? So they're backing up. And they stay as a unit. Look at this. Now, the enemy team does not have, like, AoE control, so they don't have to worry about this. If they did, maybe Ana would have to walk down, Jarex would have to walk up, and Thompson would have to walk up as well. But that's not what's the case here. Instead, they just stay as a unit and together. And what happens is now they can reset and find the initiation. Look at the reset, guys. Look at the reset, what it enables them to do. I have to keep rewinding because this is top tier Dota, and it's the type of stuff that can get you to the next bracket. So they reset. Once again, Jarex staying on the outside. Thompson goes in because he's the frontliner, and they find the squishy who separates, right? The squishy separates, whether it's GH, the Wind Ranger of Weeha or Kuroki, they burst him, right? And now they can go to the next. And they're even sort of ignoring Miracle here because they understand he's not the key target, right? But they're staying together, they kill off the Omni Knight, now they're most likely going to go for GH, which they do, and they can keep pursuing at this point, right? They can dive all they want because they have a numbers advantage and because they're OG, right? But in pubs, this is most likely not going to be a good play. If you're the gyrocopter in your typical solo queue match, you're just going to kind of want to stay back and hit the rack so you don't actually throw the game. Which often happens. But yeah, this is kind of where the game gets called, and that's going to be the first examples that I want to show you. And now to end off this video, I just want to give an example from one of the games I recently played. This was actually a losing match, but I felt like this was a really good example of team fighting in general. And the good thing about this is that I can show you exactly what I was thinking and tell you, exactly what I was thinking going into this fight. So let's break it down. So the enemy team is pushing our tier 1. They wanted to take it. Very logical. Pudge unfortunately misses the hook. Very unfortunate. But what am I looking at here? So I see this Shaker go in, but he has Ags, right? And I know that, right? And this is an Abaddon, a hero that I don't really want to go on, right? He has a Hooded Defiance, and he's very hard for me to kill. So what can I do, right? What is my targeting here? Well, I see the Phoenix, and I'm like, okay, great. So I see Phoenix, and I'm instantly like, okay, I can throw down my cooldown, get a 2-man cooldown, and kind of protect the fight, and instantly target the Phoenix, because I know, seeing the Earthshaker here, that this is a good go for me, right? I'm looking for their backline, and this is going to allow me to burst very important heroes. And that's exactly what happens, right? I get on top of their Phoenix, instantly, get the Phoenix kill, and then I stay with my team, right? I could chase the CM theoretically, and it wouldn't be a bad play by any means, but at the same time, what I can do is just stay with my team and make sure I don't overextend, right? Because I don't know where the PA is. I wasn't certain if this guy had Echo, which he actually does, right? So I have to be careful, and that's why I don't chase the CM. Once again, I stay as a unit with my team. Even though they have a hero like the Earthshaker, I can sort of stay together, and this enables me now to kite out, pick up the CM kill, and now we've killed off both of their high DPS supports, and once again, I'm still kiting out. I have no interest in dying. I don't want to feed away my streak. So, you notice now, finally their Shaker commits on me. They commit for the kill, but I don't die, and that's because I simply did not overcommit. And yeah, so I thought that was a good example of sort of why maybe you're losing the fights. If I chased someone like the Earthshaker or the Abaddon early into the fight there, I probably would have gotten hit by a later on egg, right? Hit by a long-range Crystal Nova, hit by a Frostbite, a CM ulti, really, like, everything adds up. But instead, I can just burst off the Phoenix, get to the CM, drop her HP low so that her ultimate is low value, and win the fight. So yeah, hopefully you learned something from this video and team fighting, and you can incorporate these ideas into your games because they're not easy. It takes a lot of pre-planning and thinking and muscle memory, but if you can incorporate simply the idea of staying together with your team and not overextending, you're going to have a lot more success. And now, one quick side note that I didn't mention throughout the video, but I want to put in here is consider where you're taking the fights. I'm probably going to make a video on this. In fact, I'm writing it down as we speak. But in general, like, where are you taking team fights, right? You need to ask yourself, am I diving towers for every fight we took? Is it in an open area? Is it by the Roche pit? Is it by an objective? And the big thing you can do to fix this is smoking with your team. And yeah, hopefully I make a video on that and where to take a team fight next. But if you learned something from this video and want to see the next video, leave a like, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Are you tired of being hard stuck at your rank? Over at gameleap.com, we have a library of hundreds of guides authored by pro players and coaches covering literally every aspect of Dota. Whether you're looking to master a new hero or role, or just polish up your existing skills, GameLeap is the proven place for competitive gamers to hone their craft and unlock their secret potential. Hit the link on screen right now to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount, guys. 25%, and start your journey today.